I don't know. I don't understand football. The closest thing I have is, I work with this one of the kids that play at the games, Jason Hopper, and he used to play football. Played
Yeah.
football at Clemson, and every now and then his personality, that football personality, comes out, and just that. And I don't want to get in trouble with the football players out there, but just that I'm going to establish my will and I'm going to just lay down my dominance and this whole and it's like, slow down, big boy. You don't know how to swim. Just let's get in the water and do, first things prevent drowning. It's
Yeah.
like, it's on everything too. I once took him to a lake and I love telling this story because it really did reestablish the pecking order in our relationship. And this was last year before the games, and we went and did some open water swimming at a friend's house. And this friend was nice enough to lay out buoys along the shoreline, 50 meters apart. And there was 650 meters of total buoys down the shore of this lake. And my plan is to kind of take him from buoy to buoy and teach him skills in going around it, plus sightings, plus also get the workout in. So he's on the dock and he's got his goggles and his suit, and he's getting ready to go. And I'm like, hold on. I go, wait up. And I go and I do a quick deck change and I come down the dock and he's stunned looking at me. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean? I thought we're going to go. And he's like, do you realize that's 650 meters. And you're going to have to swim in. If you can't make it, you're going to have to swim in and walk back. And he just kept digging and he just didn't know. But it was this whole like bravado that he just was like, never even thought about my own abilities. And as soon as he saw me just dive in, it was like, uh-oh. Yeah. And I put the hammer on him. I mean, we went way past that 650. I made it so that he was like, I don't know, we should maybe get the boat.
Yeah. That's
But,
hilarious.
oh yeah, no, he was just like, and I never let him live it down.
I could see that being a detriment, the football thing with CrossFit. Like everybody thinks CrossFit's this like, your heart and how much you can put in and how much you can push at those moments. But what I've learned, and it was funny, I think not Steve Sweeney, he's a comedian. Sean Sweeney said to me once, I was like, hey, how do you think you think you have a chance of winning the games this year? And he kind of said to me, no. And I was like, what? And he's like, well, CrossFit's an incremental thing.
Mm-hmm.
We know there's so many metrics to it that we know where we are and we move incrementally, that there aren't going to be these crazy jumps from here to here to here. And you can't dig deep and win this event like that. It's like, because you have to calculate, I can put this much energy into this event because I have this event, then this event, then this event. And so you've trained for so long that you know what your body, it's like running a marathon. You don't go, well, I'm going to sprint this third mile. We can't, because I always remember you telling me CrossFit's an endurance event, and you watch and you look, I watch Ricky Garard, who did a great job, but you just watch Medeiros just plug along. And all of a sudden day 3 happened. Day 4 happens and he just starts passing up because he's in the race. And it's not one event or two events, it's the whole thing. And it's like, if you think of it like that, and it was like Tia also, and it's like, they were like, oh my God, these guys are doing so well. And it's like, we'll see. Well, like I said from the beginning, I said Mayhem's gonna win, Tia's gonna win, and Medeiros is gonna win. It's pretty simple. And Hopper did do well, and he moved up, and he's really, really improving. But like, is he going to win it next year? I don't think. Is he going to come in 4th or 3rd? Yeah, maybe he can jump a couple places next year if none of those guys come back. But like, who to watch next year? Roman Krenikov, Ricky Garard, but Justin Medeiros, if he comes back, will probably win it again. It's one of those things, and they'll all. It's a very metric oriented thing. And
I look at their trajectory. That's what I look for. Like, who is continuously growing and what is the rate of that improvement? And, I'm lucky enough to work with Justin and, I was brought in this year, and it's interesting how great he is and what they just didn't know. And I admire his coach, Adam. I mean, I don't know if you know much about Adam, but he's, the owner of CrossFit Fort Vancouver. And
Yep.
he is one of the most humble, positive, and intelligent people out there, but he's also secure in himself. And
Mhm.
when he recognized, if we're going to continuously improve, we need to add to the team. And I was brought in there, 6, 7 months ago, and it was one, hey, we would really like to bring you onto this team, and these are the areas that we really would like to target. And there he goes again. He starts his, re-ramping that trajectory. He is in nowhere close to slowing down. But as soon as
Mhm.
that levels off, and you see it all the time in athletes,
Mhm.
they've peaked. That's it.
Mhm.
And like you said, I think that Jason Hopper is going to continuously improve
Mhm.
because he's still learning.
Mhm.
Same thing with Justin Medeiros. And I agree with you. I think that Roman Krenikov, uh, he is somebody to watch out for, because it's not that he is. So I don't know if you know this, but I got an email from Roman Krenikov in 2017, and in Russia, and it was poorly translated. I think he ran it through Google, and he asked for some help. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. And it was a very nice, positive, well-written note. It appealed to me. It resonated. And so I agreed.
Did it did it say, "I need you to help me invade the Ukraine"?
No, no,
Oh, okay. I just
I
wanted to
don't
make
think so.
sure.
But he was a guy that lived in Siberia. He's had it really tough.
Wow. Wow, I didn't know
Really,
he was
really
from
tough.
Siberia.
Yeah, so really tough. One of the things, so a year later, he wins the European regionals, and that's when people, started hearing about him. And he thought he was going to the CrossFit Games in 2018. And what happened? He decides to buy, his tickets, used his $5,000 in prize money, buys non-refundable everything, doesn't know any better.
Oh,
And
oh.
then the State Department denies him entry, and just kept denying him entry. I got a
Can I
note.
ask what can I ask, was there a reason they were denying him other than they just don't want Russians in the United States? Did he have some past thing that we can't speak about? Or, sometimes it's like if you have an assault charge or you have this or you have that,
No,
they
so yeah, that's a good question. So I don't know the exact specifics, but I think that he made a comment after winning the European regionals, that was done jokingly, and those comments get brought into meetings when you want to have access into the United States, and they get brought up. And anything in writing that you said
Mm,
verbally, it could potentially be taken out of context.
okay. So
And
so
so
I I
a
I
young kid
understand that
making a
because
silly remark.
yep. Well, so imagine a comedian. I'm
Yeah.
constantly trying to get visas to other countries
Yeah.
for to go do shows. And my promoters, when I'm in Australia, I get in a lot of trouble every once in a while, like on TV shows for making, a remark I shouldn't have made or some.
Yep.
And it's good for publicity. It's great. They're like, "Hey, we're going to sell more tickets," but my promoters are always going, visa, think visa, and I'm like, "Oh, come on!" And they're like, "You have no idea. All it takes is one person to see that, not like that, and you are not back in this country." And I was
Right.
like, "Australia?" And they're like, "Yes, like don't mess around." And they're like,
That's
"Lay
right.
low." Yeah.
That's right.
So,
And comedians is really tough. Like I read and saw a piece on Louis C.K., and he was testing out new material, when he was trying to make and come back. And some of the things as he was testing, and I know how you guys try out new material and see if it
mhm,
works, and then you
mhm,
refine it. And the first pass, it may not be that great. Oof, the beating he took. And it was just a comedian trying to make jokes. And
yeah,
because of prior stuff, it gets stacked into this. And now it's just like, here we
yep,
go again.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I don't
I
know
make
how
that
you
point.
manage it.
I I make that point to people all the time. Whenever somebody says that like a joke of mine offended them or something like this or blah blah blah, and I'll go, hey, this joke? And they'll be like, oh, yeah, that was hilarious. And I'll go, when it started, it was the worst joke I had. And everyone
Mhm.
got upset. And
Yep.
they're like, oh, but it wasn't offensive. I go, because I had to tweak it and I had to figure it out and I had to test it and find it until it worked.
Yep.
And then I, figured out everybody's sensitivity level and how to, there's words I can say before it or after it, and you can, there's so many things you can do to it. So I go, how do you think we learn that? And they're
Yep.
like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, don't hold us
Well,
accountable for what we say.
stories are the same exact thing. And that's where people, it's like, come on, you don't embellish stories and refine it and say it again. And the reason why stories, you want to say them over and over again is because you're refining it like a joke.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
think about my seminar and, I tell this story of the first workout I did with Jason Kleep at A Mile for Time. And am I embellishing? Absolutely. Because I'm also looking at the audience that I'm talking to as
Yeah,
well. I mean, it's an educational piece. And so I'm putting education in there. But my delivery is way better than the first time I said it.
sure.
Right. And that's what I see. Like when you and I spoke, I realized right then I need to listen to comedians. And what I find is they're so polished that it almost appears that you've never said it before. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
gift.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the first
Well,
time, and so I really listen. I go back and I listen to different people, and it's like, wow, they're literally telling a story over and over, but it's like it just popped into their head.